We have a wedding coming up this week where Joshua, our second eldest son, will be the groom. And in most modern weddings, the wedding day is not about the groom, because the focus is on the bride, of course, and her dress. As long as the groom is at the end of the aisle when the entrance music starts, then he has done his bit. But that, of course, is not true, because the groom is just as important as the bride, because the wedding ceremony is about their consent into entering into marriage, the vows that they make to each other, and of course the sealing of their promises with the exchanging of rings. Well, last week we finished with Jesus' statement that he did not come to call the righteous, but sinners. Well, today we pick up the narrative with Jesus referring to himself as the bridegroom. Mark 2 verse 18. Now, John's disciples and the Pharisees were fasting. Some people came and asked Jesus, "How is it that John's disciples and the disciples of the Pharisees are fasting, but yours are not?" Now, it's typical at this stage in history for the Jewish people to fast 2 times per week. However, their fasting wasn't an expression of mourning, which was common throughout the Old Testament. Instead, it was thought that regular fasting would hasten the coming of the Christ. Okay, and so choosing not to fast indicates that you're not really interested in God redeeming Israel through the promised Christ. And so Jesus responds. Mark chapter 2 verse 19. How can the guests of the bridegroom fast while he is with them? They cannot, so long as they have him with them. But the time will come when the bridegroom will be taken from them, and on that day they will fast. It's a bit of an odd statement, because why would the guests at a wedding fast at all? I mean, we can understand the groom being taken away and the guests mourning his death, if that's kind of what's in mind. But it seems like a strange answer to the question about fasting. What brings clarity is the realization that the bridegroom in Jesus' parable symbolizes much more than simply the groom of a bride. In Isaiah 62, for example, which is a prophecy about the coming of the Christ, we read this. Isaiah 62 verse 5. As a young man marries a young woman, so will your builder marry you. As the bridegroom rejoices over his bride, so will your God rejoice over you. Okay, so God refers to himself as the groom and the people of Israel as the bride. Okay, when Jesus calls himself the bridegroom in the context of the people of God fasting in order to hasten the coming of the Christ, he's declaring that he's the Christ that the people of God are fasting about. Okay, his point is that there is no need to fast in order to hasten the coming of the Christ, because he's already here. Okay, if you're going to fast when it comes to the Christ, you should wait until his death, because then you can fast as a sign of mourning. Or you can wait till his ascension, because then you can fast as you wait for his return. Either way, there is no need to fast while the Christ is with you. Now, friends, I'll speak a bit more about kind of fasting, kind of not a lot, but more about it on Sunday, because as Christians we have differing views on the topic. However, fasting is not what the passage is about. Okay, Jesus is declaring in a subtle but equally obvious way that he is the Christ, and that the people who question his disciples need to decide whether they agree with Jesus' claim or not. Now for us, we have faith in Jesus because we know that he is the Christ, the Son of God. But there are many people we know, friends, family members of our kind of family, neighbours, people we see who disagree with that statement, or who simply, haven't given themselves time to consider who Jesus is. And so with that in mind, why not take a couple of minutes to pray for them? Pray that God will open their eyes, open their ears to his truth, and that they will come to recognise Jesus as the Christ.